So for February, we have here Dr. Brandon Lawton and Mary Dassault, and they're going to be leading a conversation today on NASA's Astrophoto Challenge. So they'll do a little introductory into what the Astrophoto Challenge is, and then open it up to a conversation back and forth to gain some valuable input from you all on how you can see yourselves utilizing this project in your communities or how you've used it in the past. And feel free to give any input you see of value here. So I will hand it off, and if Erica, if you want to say anything, I'll hand it off to Erica, and then we can hand it off to the speakers.
Hopefully some of you saw our recent announcement about it. I'm sure Brandon and Mary will tell you it's still open for another week. I'm also part of this team. So feel free to also use the chat, ask questions or put comments. We'll be checking that throughout the conversation, and I can kind of answer asynchronously anything that might be easy to answer there. But with that said, I will make sure that Brandon can share his screen and let Brandon take away the conversation.
Okay. Thanks for the introduction. I'm Brandon Lawton. I'm an astronomer, project scientist in the Office of Public Outreach here at the Space Telescope Science Institute in Baltimore, Maryland. And I co-lead this project with Mary. We model this project as we model a lot of projects where we have partnerships between educators, scientists, and other experts to make sure that we create interesting and wonderful learning experiences for our audiences. So I put in the, I'll share screen and I'll walk you all through a quick introduction to the Astrophoto Challenge, but I did put in the chat the link to this page as well if you want to go there yourself. So let me go ahead and make sure, can you all see this page? Yeah, I'm getting head nods. Okay. All right, so if you go to this link, here is the NASA's Astrophoto Challenge page. Now, the goal for the NASA's Astrophoto Challenge project, right, is to allow learners allow learners of a broad age range, right, from youth to lifelong learners that are really interested in creating their own beautiful version of iconic astrophysics or astronomy images that they've seen via press releases or what have you. And we do these timely, we do these twice a year. And this challenge that's going on now is going on through February 28th. So this is the winter 2023 challenge. It's on a very iconic image you may have all seen called the Pillars of Creation in the Eagle Nebula. And on this page, I won't play it, but there's a nice introductory video that you can watch that sort of gives you the hopefully gets you excited about making your own version of this image. And then we sort of walk you through. And as I go through this, Mary, just pipe up if you want to say something if I've missed something. So Mary's team, Mary and Erica, their team have put together this wonderful web page and project page for you all to interact with the data. So it walks you through on what to do for this challenge. So the challenge really provides the learner with the opportunity to select what parts of the challenge they want to, what they want to do or what they want to include in their image, right? So we give options for the types of data that they want to include. That can include getting your own image from MicroObservatory. So if you want to control your own telescope, you can use MicroObservatory to get an image. It will send you the files and you can use those in your image. And so if you go to the MicroObservatory page, you can request your own. I'm trying to do this without closing the page here. It'll open up to this page where you can select, and it's highlighted for you because MicroObservatory allows you to observe all sorts of objects in the night sky. So if you want to observe the object that is particular for this challenge, it's highlighted here, the Eagle Nebula, right? And so you can click observe, right? And it opens up the observing window. You are now an observer and you're going to give the instructions for the telescope to take your image. And so you can, there's sort of hints of what might be good selections here, but you have a choice over, you don't have a choice over field of view, but you have a choice over exposure time and filter selection, right? And then it walks you through how to do that. Okay, so if you want your own images that you have requested from a from the MicroObservatory, you can do that. You can also get images that we provide, that NASA data images we provide for the challenge as well. And so I'll walk you into that process. So the next process is once you want to start creating your final image, you can go into this create your image, and you can go into the tool. Let me make sure
The link was on step 1.
Oh, it was on step 1. Sorry. Oh, right here. Right. So once you, and I should say, let me go back to this page. All of the links there's a link down here as well where you can get to the challenge tool at the bottom of the page as well. So once you open this up, there is a guided tour that will walk you through the process. So by all means, if you're working with a group and you're interested in doing this challenge, you might want to walk through the guided tour yourself first before you walk others through it, just to see. But I'm going to click it off. I'm going to live adventurously here. I'm going to just walk through some things you can do. So this is the actual tool. This is what we call the JS94L. This is the tool that you will use to sort of put your images together. So what you do is you have these selections here of challenge images for the Eagle Nebula. And when you hover over challenge images, you'll see you have a lot of choices. So here's where some of the artistry comes in. The first big thing you have to choose in this challenge is what data sets do you want to include, right? You can include your MicroObservatory data sets that were sent to you. We also have MicroObservatory data in here as well that are stored if you want to use this MicroObservatory data. But there's also NASA data sets, and they're divided by, do you want a wide field of the larger Eagle Nebula star forming region, or do you want a zoomed in area of the iconic sort of pillars of creation that are sort of centered in the middle of the Eagle Nebula? For this, I'll just walk through quickly using the pillars of creation data. I will note this is the first challenge where we've offered web data. So of course, James Webb just launched last summer, and I believe this is the first time, I may be wrong, but I believe this is the first time anyone has offered the public an opportunity to sort of play with the JWST data themselves. Certainly for the Astrophoto challenge, it's the first opportunity. All right, so you can pick, let's say you want to do a Hubble blue image. You can pick that. It'll load into the screen here. There are some things that walk you through. You can look at scale. The scale should be relatively set. There are options on the right to change sort of how the image appears on the screen. Low brightness limit, high brightness limit. So so basically the way this works, right, these are detectors with pixels like a camera, and it collects photons of light, and areas where pixels have collected a lot of photons get high brightness values, right? There's lots of photons, lots of light. And so that would be what this high brightness limit basically tells you. I want to see everything that has a brightness up to that value. So there are some areas, darker regions, that have very few photons of light collected from that object. And so then that's your low brightness limit. And so playing with this can allow you to focus on maybe a wide range of brightnesses, or low brightness regions or high brightness regions. For this, I'm actually going to set the high brightness down because I'm interested in fainter structure. And you can actually scroll across the screen and play with the stretch and contrast, or you can do it manually on the side over here. And you can start to see a grayscale image of the pillars of creation popping out. This is a Hubble blue image taken with a blue filter. So we know this light is blue because a blue filter was used to capture this image from Hubble. All right, so I'm going to actually color this blue. And you can play with the stretch however you like. Now let's say I want to add on top of that a James Webb near infrared image. So I'm going to click on James Webb near infrared. And I'm going to make sure scale is fine. I'm going to stretch this so you can start to see things pop out. I'm going to make this be green. I am going to open up a James Webb mid-infrared. So I've just basically done 3 separate images here. This is a mid-infrared image, and I'm going to, you can see some details here. I'm going to make that be red. Okay, so if you hover over my list, you'll see that the images that you have opened separately, right? I have these 3. And now the trick comes in. We have various tools to help you align the images and to combine them. So hopefully this works. Let's click auto align images here. And it's thinking, all right, so they should be aligned. Now you're only seeing the James Webb mid-infrared right now because I haven't actually blended the images together. So let me do this tool this blending tool, and I want to blend the Hubble blue, the James Webb near infrared, and the James Webb mid-infrared image, and click image blending, right? And there you see your beautiful multicolored image pop up. And after they're blended, you can still change with the contrast. If you click on one of these, let's say I want the Hubble blue to pop out, I'll click on the Hubble blue and I'll start messing with that one again, and it'll reblend. Okay, so in this way, there's a lot of choices for the user to play with the images. One thing I didn't say is on that intro page, we also have a video with subject matter experts that actually explain what it is you're seeing in these different wavelengths. So we recommend taking a look at that so that there's some science content, explanation for why it's useful to look across these different wavelengths. But if you'll notice the choices, we also include infrared from Spitzer of the larger Eagle Nebula, Herschel far infrared, Herschel Space Telescope far infrared, also X-ray from Chandra, the Chandra X-ray Observatory. So we have a lot of options, a lot of different wavelengths covered, and we encourage people to make an image that is scientifically interesting to them based off of their choices, or aesthetically interesting. Whatever they want to do, we're open to. It's really just being intentional in your choices. So if you want to make an artistic image that's really just about playing with interesting colors and mixing interesting things together, that's great. If you want to do something that is really highlighting some feature of the Eagle Nebula or the Pillars of Creation and using particular images to highlight those areas or that wavelength, that's great. But it's really about being intentional and understanding, what it is that you're trying to achieve, and maybe after you play with it a bit, that becomes a little bit easier to do. The last thing I'll show you is that once you're done with this, you can submit.
Before you go, Brandon,
yep.
I just wanted to note, since it was asked in the chat, and you just scrolled up, which was great. You can see above the window. So this is a browser-based tool where you're manipulating data in the same way that NASA data visualizers do, right? So, so you're getting to combine different wavelengths of data, assign colors to them, and use the same kind of skills. But at the top, if you've never done this before, there's some general video tutorials about how to use this tool. So how to align those images like Brandon did, how to adjust the brightness sliders to get the best contrast, how to process a FITS image. So NASA images are like MicroObservatory images are FITS images. So there's this whole set of tutorials that walk you through doing the things Brandon just did.
Yeah, thanks for that, Mary. Yeah, there's this, I believe, will open up the the subject matter expert video. Don't play, I'm afraid of the sound will blast you. So there's the video if you want to understand what it is you're looking at. There's the guided tour that opens up when you come in here initially. You can turn that back on. There's a learn more here, which actually opens up another product NASA's Universal Learning creates, which is called ViewSpace. There's a short interactive slider where you can actually slide across the pillars and look at the pillars across different wavelengths, and it pinpoints sort of different features for you there. So there's that tool as well. And then you can, if you're happy with your creation and you want to submit it, you can submit it with Google. And we, after the challenge is over, after February 28th, which is the last day of the challenge, our team will get together, we'll pick out standout entries, and we always post standout entries for each challenge on this page here. And if I can find
down at the bottom.
Yeah, standout entries, just so you get an idea of previous entries. And it just has to load. My computer is being asked to do a lot right now, so so it has to load. And you can see we include first name, last initial, and if you open it up, every standout entry has a nice positive comment from a subject matter expert who has looked at the image and found something very interesting that they want to highlight about the image. And so you can see we've been doing this for a number of years now, and we always like to share the interesting creations that the community provides. So I'm happy to take questions. I apologize, I was not looking at the chat, so.
Oh, some great questions in the chat, Brandon, and Erica answered Carrie's inquiry. Is it something you could do as a class and then students can submit their image? And that's exactly the use case that we're hoping you guys can help us optimize. What are additional things that you need to be able to do something like that? Because we really think that we're going to reach the most diverse cohort of new learners to working with, real astronomy data through facilitators like you. And so one of the reasons for coming to your cosmic conversation here is to figure out, Carrie, if you were going to facilitate this for a group of kids and submit, what are the things you'd want to be able to have, and what do you need?
So question for facilitators of this particular meeting, is it helpful if I turn off my share screen so we can all see each other better, or would you like me to keep it on?
We can turn it off for now. We can always pull it back up if
somebody
has a question about something specific.
Sure.
And folks, feel free to unmute yourself, turn on your cameras if you'd like.
And Carrie, so I see the question about when's the summer challenge. And in fact, I think probably one of the best things we're getting to doing now for educators, especially and facilitators, is to try to start to be more reliable about when each season's challenge is going to be so that you can plan ahead. So we're starting to get on a cycle now in which there's a summer and a winter challenge, where the summer challenge kind of starts in mid-May. So it starts kind of before the summer. So people with after school classes or school students could participate in this as, an extra credit at the end of the year. Anyway, they could participate, but also include June and July so that museums who are offering summer programming could offer a summer camp in which you learn about astrophotography. And as your final project, you submit to NASA's Astrophoto Challenge. So summer challenge and this winter challenge is running a little bit later than we hope to have most winter challenges, but typically they would include part of December, January, and February, so that there's possibly the school vacation week over the holidays for museums. Again, a good time to offer a camp. Yeah. So
there's another question in the chat here, Mary. I don't know if you just saw it or not.
Yeah, what age group of students can participate? So, you know, this really we've had quite young students use this interactive browser-based tool and be very successful with it. So, you know, upper elementary, 4th and 5th graders can do this. They aren't going to understand the content as much, but they can get really creative with the data manipulation. And then, but if you wanted, you know, each challenge features some object in space. So there's also an opportunity to do activities around, in this case, star formation. So we typically try to curate a set of activities, and you guys have a bunch in your various program models. So I think, so, you know, that kinesthetic life cycle of stars activity might be something that would accompany a summer camp doing a star formation region like this. You know, I'm sure you guys have used various galaxy activities. I'm not sure we're allowed to identify our summer target yet, are we, Brandon? I think this is one of those, or do we? I think we that's that may be something that's embargoed, but that we can reveal to this group a little bit early. If you're going to facilitate programs, I guess I'm not quite sure, because in particular, we're starting now to want to feature JWST data when we can, you know, which is exciting, right?
Yeah, I think we'll be able to tell them very, very soon. I would say that it's very clear, though, that it will be something that's more galaxy related and less star formation related. So what we also try to do is we also try to change the target, both the science content of the target between challenges, if we can, to change up the science learning that's possible there, as well as just the aesthetic appeal of that target, right? Having something that looks aesthetically very different every challenge is something that we're looking for.
Yes, we love digital displays of the data. And again, this is either MicroObservatory data, which is free and free to use, or it's NASA data, which has been made publicly accessible. So your images you can display. Now, we would hope you would note in the credit displaying the image that these were produced with NASA data by people participating in NASA's Astrophoto Challenge through NASA's Universe of Learning. But other than that, you absolutely, you know, a display of user-created content from this project is like our dream. And if you look through some of those standout entries from prior seasons, you'll see that, you know, a lot more people enter than can be highlighted. And so it's not that we're choosing the best. This is not a contest. Notice it's a challenge. And so the idea is to motivate and give people experience, but the reviewers of the submissions tend to pick things that just seem really cool, that appeal to them in some way. Sometimes it's for scientific reasons, because somebody's done a really skillful combination of 3 wavelengths. But sometimes it's just because, wow, I didn't even know you could do that kind of processing using the JS9 tool, and that's really cool looking. And so, and you'll see the scientists commenting on some of that.
And I'll just say too, just for, oh, I think I froze. There I am. But for the purpose of the recording, there was a question here if the challenge could work for pre-K and K to 5th. And we did put an answer in the chat, but just to mention, younger audiences like pre-K is a little tough with this tool, but we've had groups in lower elementary participate before, and we would absolutely love it if folks want to try out the challenge and give us some feedback on what supports might make it easier for those younger learners to participate, and let us know how we can adapt this project to fit more with that audience. So I just wanted to mention here for the recording. Sorry.
Thank you, Jessie. That's a good point. I sometimes forget about the
recording. And it's definitely also in our plans, and this would be a great group to help us to develop a simpler NASA's Astrophoto Challenge tool, so that there's kind of an entry-level tool where you can't manipulate so many things. There's only a few things you can manipulate, but it's much easier for somebody less skillful with the image processing tool. And then there's, so that there's kind of scaffolding for we've tried to provide a lot of scaffolding through video tutorials, but we really have on our plan in the upcoming year to develop a simpler interface to the data. This would be a great group to participate in focus groups as we do that.
Yeah, I agree, Mary. This is Tish from Copernic in Vestal, New York. We had really good luck with families, and so the parents are right there with the little ones. But the 4th, 5th, and so on, those grade levels are really the ideal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they had a blast. They loved it. But I didn't know what you were going to do with the images, so now I know. Oh, by the way, did anybody see Nova last night? They talked in depth about how the artist puts the color in video, in the images.
Yeah, just a note about that. I believe, if I'm, Jessie, is that correct? It was Joe and Elisa who
It was, yep.
They were featured on that. They are the very ones who we work with who put these images together for us for this project.
That was really well done. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll share that with them. And
they also are some of the reviewers who comment on submissions, though. So
they look at the submissions too.
Yeah.
And just to answer some questions here in the chat, are we going to be sharing the recording of this meeting? Absolutely. We will be sharing the recording after this, and it will live on our YouTube channel, and I'll share it via our Google group with the resources that Mary and Brandon mentioned here as well. And then I know Claudia had a question if there is a flyer for this, for the Astrophoto Challenge. They would want to set up a station at the museum this weekend for it, if there's some kind of flyer in existence.
Yeah, there's actually, maybe you could send out, Jessie, we can give you the social media shareable. I have one behind me, but there's actually one that has a QR code on it that gets you directly to the site.
Okay.
And Claudia, we certainly have had people in another project who set up an interpretation station. Oh, I don't have it with me. I'm sorry. If you have an inkjet printer, where did I put that? Anyway, if you have an inkjet printer and you print visitors' results on a 5x7 or 4x6 piece of glossy paper, it looks great. It's a great make and take item, or you can make an immediate visitor display there.
Awesome. So I just want to pause here because we are a little past time. So this was a great conversation. Thank you all so much for the questions asked. I'll be sure to save the chat as well for our own reference. And oh, thank you, Brandon. You put the link to the NOVA interview in the chat. That's awesome. I'll share that as well in the recording email too. And I'll make sure to share that flyer for you, Claudia, and others. But thank you all for joining us for this month's Cosmic Conversation. And thank you to our guest speakers, Brandon and Mary. And Erica, go ahead.
Yeah, just one more thing. If anybody thinks of any follow-up feedback, please share that with us. You can either email Jesse and I directly, have a conversation with our Google group. You can Informal Learning, the Google group that you're all part of. We'll happily participate and share any feedback with Mary and Brandon. So please let us know. This is kind of an opportunity for you to tell NASA's Universe of Learning what you want to see out of projects that we're creating. So as you think of them, let us know.
All right. Have a good afternoon, everyone. Bye.
Bye.